The Middle Ground is a Star Wars podcast hosted by Max Opasek and Kevin Isaacs. All the media that is discussed in the podcast is owned by Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company. The boys' opinions are, well, you guessed it, simply just their opinions. So please tune in, relax, and McClunky.
You know, we talked about that last night, like the videos of like the High Republic characters. Yeah, they posted a new one and got tons of dislikes again. I'm sick of it. It was a cool character. It's one of the Wookiee Jedi. You don't really see that often.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, no, it's propaganda and bring back Gina Carano and I love Geeks and Gamers. You know,
is Geeks and Gamers the?
He's the one that has the same thumbnail for each video.
Yeah.
And is like, you know, he just repeats himself. He's the one that we watched for the High Republic, the video. It was the trailer, and we watched it, and we're like, this looks fine. He's like, oh my god, they did it again. Like it was like some huge travesty, but
it's like, I mean, don't read it then. It's a book.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like the people that. I mean, I don't want to say, you know, if someone read it and they didn't like it, like, that's fine. But the majority of people that are complaining about it have not read it.
Yeah.
Or any of them. They're only looking at it and listening to other people.
Yeah. Like, I'd like to know how many Star Wars fans actually read most of the books.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel
that are, complaining.
Yeah, because I'd feel like most fans would just, be movie fans or, game fans, you know?
Yeah, that's what the majority of people are going to watch and see,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, they don't care about a book, but...
Yeah.
That I feel is neither here nor there, because if you would like to lead today's intro, since this episode idea was yours.
Yes!
Okay.
So, I think it's really easy. It kind of ties into what we were talking about. I think it's really easy to talk bad on Star Wars.
Yeah.
And really any movie. Like, you can nitpick anything. But Star Wars, being as popular as it is, and... as it was when the original trilogy came out.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously wasn't even alive then.
Right. Neither of us, but yeah.
But, you know, from what I've heard from, my parents and everything, it was a big deal. So I understand, you know, when they released a new trilogy, like the Prequel Trilogy, people were expecting a lot more.
Yeah.
But they got this. Which,
yeah. we're watching The Phantom Menace.
Yes.
It's on in the background for context.
But we're not here to... talk bad on it though, because we're Star Wars fans.
Yeah,
you know? That's why we have this channel in the first place.
We
because we like Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the idea of why not just talk about what we like about Star Wars. So in this video, we're just gonna talk about what we like about the original trilogy, things we think it did good.
Or Prequel Trilogy. You wanted to do this after every trilogy we cover.
Yeah, and then
era.
if we do Clone Wars or. Well, I don't know if we would have to do it then.
I mean, we were already pretty positive on Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But no, this will just be a good way to get genuine positivity, I feel, because, I mean, we've talked about this off camera or off microphone, but there is a lot of, I guess, fake positivity. You can't really tell if someone's not necessarily being bought out, but you can't really tell if someone's being genuine or not, or if they're actually, you know, thinking through. They're just, you know, oh, it's Star Wars, I like it. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not, a solid way to discuss something. Just be oh yeah, I like it, I thought it was good, you know.
Yeah, I don't hate the prequels. There's a lot of things about them that I don't like as an older adult, but as a kid I watched them all the time. I had them on, I think, VHS and then DVD, and I just kept watching them. So I have plenty of good things to say about it. I mean, yeah, there's some really bad scenes.
Yes.
And real, glaring problems. But you could say that about any form of media.
That's true.
Really. I say that, we have something nice to say about everything, but this concept, this format, will be really hard for me once we hit the sequels.
I think I might be able to help you out a bit with that, because I don't think the sequels are completely, I don't think they're as bad as people say, but yeah, I don't really, not even close to being as, you know, people are you know, oh my god, this is better than the prequels. For me, I don't think they're better than the prequels. In fact, talking about the prequels the past couple months or however, whenever we did those episodes, made me appreciate them a lot more.
I agree.
Because for a while there, I mean, I know I've said this, I'll just be brief. As a kid, I loved them. In adolescence, I was like, oh, these are horrible. And then now I'm sort of growing into like in more of an appreciation of like, you know what, I genuinely like love these movies. I could say I love each of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
they're fun to watch.
At the end of the day, like the movies are out, they're not going anywhere. Like the Phantom Menace is always going to be episode 1. Clone Wars is always going to be episode 2. It's like, as much as you can reject them, and I'm guilty of it too, because as much as I don't like the prequel trilogy, like episode 7, but I don't like 8 and 9.
Yeah.
It's like, I still have to take that into Star Wars canon, like, regardless, like, that's like the thing is, like, people complain about Star Wars wanting to change things a lot. Like, I don't know if you remember, after the original trilogy, or the sequel trilogy came out, I think when it was done, people were like, They should retcon it and make a whole new sequel trilogy and say this is its own universe. It's like
that when we talk about the fan base, I want to bring that up because there are people thinking that they are going to retcon the sequels. Like still, like they think there is a movement inside of Lucasfilm that is going to like retcon them. I'm like, no, you can't like do that. You know what I mean?
No, because I feel like if they were to do it, they would have done it with like the original, or not the original, this prequel, right? Because people, I feel like, were always so negative on the prequels.
Yeah, no, exactly. But until they got perspective change. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Well, we could save that for a more in-depth discussion at another time.
The focus is the positives of, or what we like, I guess, about the original trilogy.
Prequel trilogy.
Sorry, I keep saying
trilogy.
Well,
you just don't want to talk about the prequels.
Original reminds me of like first, like the original is the first, and this is the first movie.
That's
I always mix that up in my head.
Well, it's actually, if you want to just talk about it for a second, that's an interesting, like, perspective to talk about the Star Wars movies, because when we grew up, fans had separated them into like, oh, here's the prequel trilogy and here's the original trilogy. But now, you could almost lump everything pre-Disney as like, these are the Lucas-made movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, don't even separate them by trilogies. Like, this is the George Lucas story, and then here's the Disney story. But I don't know. I don't want to keep
about it. Like
but it's hard to like. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
well, I don't want to get into that.
I just my stupid brain mixes them up.
No, you're all good.
Just keep correcting me. I'll try and fix it.
So, did you want to lead in with anything? Like, do you have like one thing that you love specifically, and then we can go from there? Or?
Yeah, sure. So, one of my favorite things about this, these are all like thoughts I have. Like, I'm trying to cut all nostalgia out from what I like about these.
Okay.
But that does play a big factor. It's hard for it not to.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this movie was like part of my childhood. I watched it multiple times a week.
Yeah.
You know, not just this movie, but the trilogy.
Yeah.
Is that, like, I watched the original trilogy a lot too. And like I like the prequel trilogy because it's so like different compared. Like, it almost seems like it takes place in the future. Like,
with the technology and everything.
Like there's a bunch of like huge, like the what are they called, the Trade Federation ships.
Yeah.
You have like all of the like, for instance, Naboo, like it's all like a bustling like regular city. Like, yeah, they're out of blockade, but like they don't look like they're under like a regime or anything, you know.
Yeah,
like,
it's like a different type of democracy.
Yeah, like this is like right before pre-war. You're like, oh, everything is fine and dandy. Like, this is before like the Empire like started blowing up planets and stuff. It's like, this is really cool, but it's also a little like haunting, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're being fed the same movie over again. That was something that Lucas was adamant about, and that's why he didn't when they first showed him episode 7, he didn't like it because he was like, well, there's nothing really new story wise. But like, you can complain about the prequels all you want, but episodes 1, 2, and 3 are vastly different from each other, and they're vastly different from any of the other Star Wars movies.
Yeah. Like, I would say that the overall tone of 1, 2, and 3 is just slowly getting more despair.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see at the very beginning of episode 1, they are trying to stop the Separatists from invading Naboo.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, okay. I mean, that's just like a small scale thing, but you know what it's gonna lead to.
Yeah, you could almost say that's reflected in Anakin too. He starts out very wide-eyed and optimistic, and he's a young boy, but as the series goes on, he gets a bit older, a bit more jaded. I don't want to say wiser, but he does, you know, he progresses almost with like the world and the themes and everything.
Yeah, and it's Anakin's like a great well, I think he was intended to be like a vessel for the audience to kind of see through. I think
at least with episode 1, he was supposed to be there for like kids to attach to.
Yeah.
Which again, that's something that was different from. There were no. I mean, some people might say it's a bad thing, but there were no like kid vessels, I guess, if you want to call them that, in the originals.
And even Anakin, like, oh, sorry, I just every time I see this scene with Jar Jar, I get thrown off.
Okay, maybe we should turn it
up. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it wasn't super in your face with Anakin. Like,
yeah,
he was. It was weird saying this, but he was overpowered for a kid to be as great of a pilot as he was, and
yes, but the way that they did it was better, because I feel like people are going to say that compare that to Rey, because people have like, oh well, Anakin's a Mary Sue if Rey is, and it's like, well, I'm not. We're not going to touch Rey right now because it's supposed to be more positive.
But Anakin is a troubled character.
Yes, but getting back to like the way he uses the Force, it's all instinct. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's not like meditating and like lifting the C-3PO parts into place or anything. He's just, when he's piloting, he's just got really good reflexes. You know what I mean? During the pod race, or during the spaceship battle at the end, or when he's building C-3PO. I don't know if that might be a bit much, because I don't really know how you could like use. They've touched on that with him using the Force to be a mechanic, and it's weird. That's not really explained much, but
well, you could say like scrappers know how to build stuff on Tatooine or whatever. Like, I know robotics like the back of my hand. I've been salvaging since I was
you could because he works in a junkyard too, so you could figure maybe Watto probably out of necessity was like, here, do this or that. But that was sort of getting into that. One of the points that I have is something I really like is Anakin's story in this. Like I said, from like, you see him, because like if you're going off of the original trilogy, if you watch them in order, it's like Vader is just sort of like a henchman, and then you find out like he's way super ruthless, but then he's like, oh my goodness, he's also Luke's dad. Then by the end of Return of the Jedi, he's almost like a completely different character. He's actually like having a conversation with Luke, and it's like, this is not the same guy from before. But then you also get into you jump to this, and it's like, what, this little kid's gonna be like Darth Vader killing people, and it's like, it's kind of off-putting, but that's like the point of it, is like how someone good and pure could like be turned to evil, and it was his willingness to like love and the inability to let go that like morphed him. It was able to be manipulated by Palpatine, who we will talk about later, to become that. And I really like his story. Now, in Episode 2 with Padme, it does get a little bit kind of iffy. Yeah, and I know you don't like Attack of the Clones Anakin.
I was going to say Attack of the Clones Anakin, I feel like they hit you a little over the head too hard with it.
Yeah.
Like that he's going to turn evil. Yeah. Look at him pouting.
I do like the Tusken Raider scene a lot, though. That I thought was pretty good.
I do. Even afterwards when he's talking to Padme, he's like, I killed them. I killed all of them. It's like, oh, like, he's crying and stuff. And it's like, oh, shit.
It's really emotional.
Yeah, it's like, he's like, how old is he in Attack of the Clones? Like in the
19. He's the same age as Luke in the original movie.
Yeah, like, a 19-year-old going through all the stuff that he had to go through, and then the Jedi telling him, well, this is the Jedi way. Like, this is how it has to be. It's like, you could see why it would turn this like conflicted boy, like it would like make him more conflicted.
Exactly. And,
like, even in Episode 3, like, he calms down, he gets a little bit older. But you still see, like, he turns into Darth Vader.
Yeah, and it makes sense why, because it's not like, it's selfish, but on the surface it's not, because he wants to save Padme, from death, which is not inherently selfish, but he's doing it because he's possessive of her. As you see, like, after killing all the Jedi and that, he sort of gets possessive of his power, too, and then Obi-Wan's got to come in and put him down, but... that's one of the things I love about this is Anakin and his story, and that's something that as a kid I never really cared about, because as a kid I always loved Obi-Wan the most, and I was like, well, why do kids like because everyone wanted to be Anakin when we were playing Star Wars. I'm like, well, why do kids want to be Anakin? And then I thought like as I got older, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like he, from what I was viewing everything from Obi-Wan's perspective, it's like he's the hero, but like Anakin truly is the, I guess, hero of Star Wars, depending how you look at it.
So I like how George Lucas actually went for a prequel to the series
instead of a sequel.
Yeah, because I feel like people were probably expecting a sequel.
Yeah,
right? Like, oh, what happened to Luke after Episode 6? And it's like, no, we're gonna go back. Luke's not even in it.
Yeah.
Remember
well,
remember
he's in it at the very, very end. A little toddler.
Little baby.
Yeah.
Infant Luke is
yeah,
in it.
yeah.
But I think it's an interesting choice. Like, now I think we just kind of accept it as, like, oh, the prequels. But, like, to go from making, like, an original trilogy where you could easily just go and make another trilogy, like, sequel, like George Lucas could have easily done that. He just like, oh, let's go back. I mentioned clones at one point in episode 4. I'm going to go make 3 movies about that.
Yeah.
And it's, like, awesome. And I think he did capturing the pre-war like galaxy and all that, and like seeing like everything change, like from peace to what it eventually turns into in episode 4, I think is one of my favorite parts of the sequel trilogy.
Prequel.
Dude,
everything but prequel.
Yeah,
No, you're good. I guess I can kind of sort of bleed into another point, is it actually made it feel like a war.
Yeah, that's my next. But I'll let you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess we could just merge that together. It made it feel like the scale of everything made it feel truly like a war. Because if you look at I guess kind of like A New Hope, but like the original trilogy, I think he said that was based off of like the either Vietnamese or the Viet Cong, whatever war was going on at the time. It was supposed to be like guerrilla troops against like an unstoppable force, and they were like the rebels, and in terms of that, it works. But then if you're talking about like a true war with two sides that are like equal, like if you look at like the ending Attack of the Clones, that is like the beginning of a huge scale war between these two huge forces with these grand armies. And I just think that he really captured the scale of what a full scale war would be like in outer space in like a fantasy setting.
I do like that comparison, because in the original trilogy, it's like the rebels are a small, like they're not a huge group of people. I think that may have been the intention.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be
it's
like
the rebellion is underdogs fighting a literal empire. But in this, like, I'm glad they didn't go that route, where they had like, oh, the separatists have taken over the galaxy, we must stop them.
Yeah.
And reinstitute the Republic. But it's like, no, this is like, there's like political systems. There's the Senate, which actually is my next point.
Yeah, I have that too.
I love the Senate and the political stuff.
Yeah, and
I think it's great, because they could just go like, we gotta blow up droids and kill the separatists, but it's like, oh no, so there is a lot of evil separatists.
Yeah,
but there are there's still people.
Yeah,
like when the separatists take control of a planet, that's very much comparable to the Republic taking control of a planet for protection. It's like, oh well, either way, there's an occupying force like taking control of the planet, and it's like, that's what real war is. Like, both sides are killing people. Yeah, like and then like the political system in Star Wars really shows that well too. There's a lot of subversion and a lot of like, I'm going to be evil because I want to be evil. Yeah. But I feel like it's in a movie with this scale, it's almost like, whatever. I can look past that.
Yeah, and
go
ahead.
But like, it's hard to reference a lot of scenes in the movies where the political system, like, I mean, there is the one where like Palpatine rises into power, Padme like in the Senate. Yeah. I'm specifically like, I wasn't too big on it before, but and this isn't the Clone Wars stuff we like, but the Clone Wars political stuff, like, kind of brought the political stuff. I appreciated it more after watching the Clone Wars episodes. Yeah,
because this stuff would be boring if it didn't have a purpose. You know what I mean? It would just be. It would be what like outsiders think that Star Wars is, like, oh, it's for kids, it's just stuff exploding. It'd be something like Paw Patrol, where stuff just happens for no reason and it's just supposed to be there to be entertaining. But no, there are political reasons the Trade Federation invades Naboo. Palpatine's manipulating them in order to get people and other senators to turn against them for votes and stuff. And it just gives like context and meaning to the things that are happening. Like if there was no separatist movement, like if someone was just building droids and then just decided to attack for like no reason, that'd be boring. But it's interesting that people are politically breaking away from the Republic with an ex-Jedi as their leader because they want to have their own rework of the Republic system's not working, so we have to break away in like a separatist movement, and they're building their own army to not combat their forces because the Republic's building one. And then like the creation of the clones is also a political thing, an ethical dispute too, not necessarily in the movies.
But like they bring it up, like clones will bring it up and be like, what happens when the war's done? Like what happens to us? It's just interesting because like you don't really think about that during the movies, but when you do, it's like that's a really good question. And the universe does think about those questions. Like they don't just give you something and go, don't think about it. It's not important. It's like pretty much everything like comes back in the original trilogy, and not original, sorry. It does. Like things referenced here will come back later in this trilogy or the original trilogy.
Right. And I feel like because people are like, oh, politics in Star Wars is bad. And I there's two ways to think of it. Is like the real world political stuff, and like George Lucas putting his own political views in is like, yeah, Star Wars is political. It was just never in the original trilogy like super overt. You know what I mean? Because they mention in A New Hope, Tarkin's like, oh, he just disbanded the Imperial Senate, and now the regional governors are going to monitor everything while Palpatine's the true one in power. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like super overt. So when you get like a scene with a full on Senate, it's just kind of off-putting. I feel like at first for people, and now people don't give it a chance. And then that's why they didn't even bother having like the Senate and political stuff in like the sequels. It's because they were scared to, people were like, oh, well, they don't like politics. It's like, well, no, you put it in there, just don't, make it super like obvious or overt.
Yeah, like Star Wars, I would argue Star Wars has always been political.
Yes.
Like to a certain degree, the original trilogy isn't like in your face about it. Mm-hmm. But, it's an empire, ruling the galaxy with a rebel force trying to overthrow their government.
Yes.
Like it's they don't like tackle a bunch of political themes in it. It's mainly about Jedi and Luke.
Yeah.
But like it's there. I think it's kind of foolish to ignore it and just say it's not.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's very clear. I mean, they're called the Empire. Mm-hmm. Like
yeah, no,
the Empire. They look like Nazis.
Imperial, empirical. I think the politics are, pretty well ingrained into this. I actually cannot think of like a political scene in here where I'm not like, or I'm like, oh, this doesn't make sense, or I don't like this. The only thing is that they never say why the Separatists, like what demands they have, which is kind of like, well,
I'm sure it's just like give us all power.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure it would the only thing that matters really is Palpatine is trying to split the Republic apart so we can have two sides of the war.
Yeah.
That's all that matters at the end of the day. But
and like I mean, even the whole plot of Phantom Menace is like they're trying to bring Padme back to the Senate, right? Like their job is to escort her back.
Yeah, they're trying to get the Queen to go to the Senate so she can vouch for there actually being an occupation on Naboo.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like we as the audience see that there is an occupation and like all the bad stuff that's happening. And when she gets there, there are senators that are like, no, like, what do you mean there's an occupation? And then you see how corrupt the Senate is. The Trade Federation, which is not a planet or a system, have a seat in the Senate. Mm-hmm. You ever think about that? They're a company. And they have a seat in the Senate where they can vouch for things. And they're like, there's no political, like, there's no invasion. What, you're going to, like, what do you, like
the Trade Federation are millionaires who are in government because they give the government lots of money.
Exactly.
You could compare an uncountable amount of things to that in reality.
Yeah.
Like,
and then they're like, another political thing is that the Chancellor knew that he couldn't just send people there on some like random allegation, so he secretly sent the Jedi, like underhand deal and stuff. And so then when the Trade Federation's like, do you have any evidence of this? They can't be like, well, we have two Jedi witnesses because he did that underhand under the table. Yeah. So it's pretty good stuff.
Do you want to talk about Palpatine?
Sure. That's the next thing on here I have is Palpatine's rise. I think we talked about, oh my God, how do you pronounce his last name? It's Ian McDermott. I think Ian McDermott is the actor.
Mm-hmm.
He does such a good job. Even in, I'll praise Rise of Skywalker for how the acting, at least, for Palpatine. He did a phenomenal job in all. What is he in? Is he in 6 of the Star Wars movies? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 9. Yeah, okay.
He's not in A New Hope at all?
Nope, he's only mentioned.
I thought he was like a hologram.
That's in 5.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, no, and he always gives a great performance in this. He's always a joy to watch. And just knowing, like rewatching and knowing that he is like a secret Sith Lord and he wants nothing more than to just take over the government. And how he's just like smiling and like he genuinely seems like he cares about Padme and like the plight of their planet.
Yeah, and like I even find myself lowering my guard, like watching, like especially the Phantom Menace, like where he's like young and like, I just am so worried about you, Padme. And
he's like smiling.
It's like, oh, he's a nice guy. And then I almost forget, oh yeah, he's gonna murder a lot of people.
Yeah, and like actually like listening to what he's saying and knowing what his true like intentions and motives are. It's really interesting to like see him like manipulate the queen and be like, oh, we can't send help there. And it's like, get your ass back to the planet. Like, but yeah, like that in Attack of the Clones, he's great. It like especially the scene where he gets emergency powers sent. And I know it's a meme, and we could talk about prequel memes later. I hate them so much. Because then people are like, oh, well, the only reason people like the prequels now are because of the memes. It's like, no. But I love the scene where he's like, they grant him emergency powers. He's like, I love democracy. I love the Republic. It's great. And he's like, it's with great humble and, like humility that I accept these emergency powers and I will create a grand army of the Republic. It's like so good because it's exactly what he wants.
Yes.
And but he's not letting it show at all. He is like, I will accept these powers, you know, but as soon as my time is done, we're done. But I think he's at his like subtly manipulating Anakin too. There's a couple scenes, more so in 2 and 3, more so 3 than 2, where he's just walking with Anakin around his office, being like, I foresee you being the greatest of all the Jedi, Anakin. Like,
and
it's just like his dad. Yeah, he's like, oh, thank you. But 3 is where he really shines because that is where he lets that guard, like the Palpatine guard, up, and he becomes Sidious. Like from when he gets revealed by Mace Windu on, oh my God, he does not stop.
He's like having fun with it. He's like laughing and like I feel like he's actually just like, this is fun as fuck.
Yeah, and it's like there's like a slight, I think in the performance what I like is there's like a slight bit of cheese there where.
It's way over the top.
Where it's like, okay, well...
but not in a bad way.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, I can still take it seriously, and I still enjoy it, and it's not annoying. But like when he's like, Anakin, don't let him kill me, please. He's like, no, don't. And he like cuts off Mace Windu's hand, and he gives like this little smile, and there's like a pause, and he's like, unlimited power.
That scene I always laugh at.
It's
I
good.
I can't take the unlimited power.
Yeah,
seriously.
It's like that. I do like that though. Oh my God.
I do. I agree though. I like how cheesy he is. Cause like.
But you can still tell he's still a threat though. Yeah, that's the thing.
Because he's like, I've been like waiting like all of my life to do just this, and now that I've succeeded, you can't stop me. I'm just gonna laugh and shock you. Like, I don't care.
Even when he's fighting with Yoda, he's like ripping the Senate pods down and throwing. But he's just a joy to watch. And if you like, again, going to the original trilogy, Palpatine was just he was like the Emperor, like the main like threat. You know, like you take him down, you take everything down. But you didn't really know where he came from. You didn't know much, but you didn't really need to. All you needed to know was he was Darth Vader's master, and he ruled the Empire, and he wanted to tempt Luke. But giving him and his rise and how he actually got there more context, giving it some type of political intrigue, really elevates the character. I don't know if I'd like Palpatine as much if it was just Episode 6. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you mean.
Like it's very much Anakin's story here, but it's also very much Palpatine's story.
Yes. And that's another great thing I think the prequels do well is there are multiple storylines going on all the time. Like the main characters are, you know, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Qui-Gon in this movie. We have Padme too with Jar Jar.
A little bit. I don't know if I
Yeah.
consider Jar Jar.
Yeah, he's more of a side comic character. Doesn't really add much. But regardless, in addition to all these, you have the whole Senate stuff going on with Palpatine, and then like, oh, I forgot what I was gonna say.
You talk about the main characters.
I mean like all the storylines and all like
Oh.
the plots that are like not really being juggled but are just happening all at the same time. And
Yeah.
I think it's handled pretty well. Cuz I mean, you have to set up, 4, 5 and 6.
That's true. Yeah.
So you have a lot to do, I feel like, to go from a peaceful galaxy to a completely war-torn galaxy. Like
yeah.
it's almost weird seeing this and then like imagining in my head like what episode 4 is like. It's like, oh,
But it's not so different that you can't place it in the same universe.
yeah, like like they're still gonna go back to Tatooine. There's just gonna be more stormtroopers.
Yeah.
But like if you go to like what's another planet where the Empire are like ruling with an iron fist? I can't think.
In the original trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, the only ones we see are the ones that they fight on.
Yeah. But
actually, they don't fight on any occupied worlds.
yeah, but Empire occupied worlds aren't necessarily great.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're saying.
But yeah, I think it's I really like all the stories that they put on here. In like not just the first movie, but the
all of them.
I almost
yeah.
said it again.
Yeah. This is a bit more of a, I don't know what you'd call it, like a surface level thing to say. Like it's not really like super thoughtful, but these movies are all really fun to watch, and they have great action. Now, okay, but like the action thing maybe because the sequels, to me, don't have that much great action. There's some great stuff in there, but it's like overall I'm sort of like, especially compared to the prequels.
Yes.
Like Battle of Geonosis, insanely well choreographed, well thought out. Like there's stages to the battle. Like they don't have the lightsabers; they're fighting the monsters.
Yes.
Oh, and then the Jedi come in. Oh, and then their gunships. They go flying out. They got to chase Dooku. Even Episode 1, I like, even though Anakin is a little bit annoying with the flying around. I love the space battle. I love the Duel of the Fates, obviously.
I think all of the action scenes in the prequel trilogy fit really well.
And they all have a meaning, too.
Yeah, like, even just like when they're going to Naboo and those giant fish are chasing them.
Yeah.
It's like it just... Nothing really happens of note. I mean, they have to surface or whatever.
Well...
But like, it shows, like... It just adds, like, depth to the planet, I think.
Yeah, like world building. But,
Yeah.
I mean, they also said it would be dangerous. I mean, it'd be kind of boring if they went through the planet core and it was just like, oh, now we're on the other side.
Yeah, they
you know
just
what
cut
I mean?
through it.
Yeah. No, all the action has meaning, It's not just... I know people have complained about that, but it really isn't just lightsaber fights for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Even... take, like, what I consider to be the worst fight would probably be Grievous versus Obi-Wan. With the lightsabers, just because it's like, he cuts the arms off and then it's like, oh, all right, well, I guess that's done. But no, there's like meaning behind it. There's like stakes. If he kills Grievous, the war ends. And if this guy's got 4 lightsabers spinning them like helicopter blades.
like,
if Obi-Wan dies, Grievous is going to escape again and just keep prolonging this war.
Yeah.
And like people didn't like the Yoda Dooku fight. I mean, that's former master and apprentice meeting again after all these years fighting,
Yeah.
and now he realizes that he's a Sith Lord. It's like,
That sucks.
Yeah, that's gotta suck for Yoda.
Yeah.
But yeah, like even I know people were like, oh, the ending of Episode 1. I'm keep ranting. I don't mean to keep cutting you off, but like there's like the ending of Episode 1. There's like the Gungan battle. There's the space battle, the Duel of the Fates, and then they gotta go like Padme and her group. And it's people are like, oh, you could cut some of those out. No, each of those has like a reason to be there, and there's like a meaning. Like the Gungans are the distraction. They got to use the ships to destroy the droids, so they'll shut down. They got to capture Nute Gunray, and then like what? They're just gonna leave Darth Maul there and not fight him? Like,
Yeah. Well, that's another interesting thing. Specifically more to the Phantom Menace's credit, but like a little bit back to the political stuff. Like the droids don't come in like guns blazing. they come into the city, they walk in, and they go, okay, this is ours now.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
oh, cool. Like, the battle doesn't happen until the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, what is it called? It's like the bomb under the table that we know is there, or
I know what you're saying. Like the audience knows something that the characters don't.
I mean, you can say that about the entire, prequel trilogy.
Yeah, like we know what's
Like,
gonna happen.
The moment they meet Anakin, like we see little Annie running, and we go, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's Darth Vader."
Yeah. But that's the thing. I think it works in its favor. A lot of people are like, I'll defend Rogue One. People are like, well, we know how it ends. What's the point of this story? I never abide by that because I always, it's like, okay, I know the ending. I know the what. I don't know how it happened because that's always an interesting story. I don't care if I know the ending. I like to know the how. Like, okay, well, how did this happen? It's like, yeah, you could just say easily, like if these movies never existed, Obi-Wan would just be like, oh yeah, Anakin or Vader was my apprentice and then he killed everyone and that's it. But like actually seeing it, the how Anakin fell is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and it's sad.
Yeah.
Like, terribly sad. Especially the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight.
Yeah.
As much as I think that it's a little over the top and like silly by the end, like the dialogue that they share in that last scene is like, it's basically the entire movie. Like that's another thing I want to talk about. Well, I'll make that the next
Okay.
talking point is Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Okay.
I love them. I love like best friend duos or like buddy cop duos. Anakin and Obi-Wan are like my original favorite.
Okay.
Like episode 3 specifically.
Yeah.
You see it a little bit in Clone Wars or Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
But it's mainly in episode 3 where like Anakin's like, my master's gonna kill me, and Obi-Wan's like, oh, you look a little stupid today, Anakin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's supposed to be the point into is that they're not getting along, because you figured maybe like, oh, they would be buddy, but then it's sort of like, like, well, there might be some friction there, especially Anakin being, quite. They were like, let's not train Anakin. He's too young. He's emotionally unstable, and they're like, oh, well, train him anyway. It's like, well, these are the results,
Yeah. I mean, you could say it all worked out in the end. Like maybe that was supposed to happen, where Anakin turned evil.
I hate fan theories. Maybe we should do an episode on fan theories soon. But like there is a theory that people have been saying. I don't even know if it's as much of a theory as like what maybe is intended to happen. But like everything was going the way the Force was like willing until Qui-Gon died at Darth Maul's hand, and then everything just sort of like went off course a bit. Because if you think about it, if Qui-Gon had trained Anakin, he probably wouldn't have turned into Darth Vader. And they might have like left the Jedi Order on like their own accord and maybe done something else, But
yeah,
I don't know.
There's a Maz Kanata statue.
That's true, yeah. And then one of those scoop ball things. I think we've mentioned this before.
But that's a story for another time.
Another thing. Do you have anything? Or were you in the? I mean, did you finish that thought?
Yeah. Well, Anakin and Obi-Wan don't really have a lot of scenes together in the movie because you can't, linger on it for too long. But mainly in the Clone Wars series, the relationship, I just always, whenever they're in an episode or a scene together, I just always am so enamored by it.
Yeah. To sort of split off on that, the main thing I absolutely love is Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. He is like right up there with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man as being like a hero to me, like my childhood icon. I loved playing as Obi-Wan. I always dressed up as Obi-Wan, loved being him. He was my favorite character throughout like all of them. Even Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan, I just could not get enough. And I think like again, going back to the originals and comparing them to the prequels, you look at Obi-Wan, this is like a very different type of Obi-Wan, It's like a different, he's channeling a little bit of Alec Guinness, but he's making it his own. And I know I've already said this, I think that this is better than Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan.
No, I agree. He's Alec Guinness Obi-Wan is older and like more tired, and like he close to dying.
Yeah,
he really does die. But this Obi-Wan, like I feel like in Phantom Menace, he's a little more straight edge because he's an apprentice. Like I want to do things right and I want to do things perfect. Where Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, I feel like he's kind of the same Obi-Wan throughout those two movies.
Yeah,
where he's a little more loose. He's really charismatic. Like they call him the negotiator.
Yeah.
And it's 100%. Yeah, and like you don't really see him negotiate too much in the movies. I don't think
there's any opportunity for him to do it.
No.
But that's the thing, is like he is more wise with his words, and he will act with his lightsaber, but only if it comes down to it. Yeah. He would rather discuss and negotiate things.
Yeah, like
which I love.
Like the Clone Wars scene, I think it was like the first episode, where like the one guy in the tank is like, "Surrender, Obi-Wan." He's like, "All right, fine, I'll surrender."
Yeah.
Now let's sit down and talk about the terms of surrender.
Yeah.
And like, however, like he like literally flatters him into getting distracted long enough.
Yeah,
like,
they had tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I love Obi-Wan. He is like my hero. He never gave up. He always was like proactive. He was like, "Oh, this cloner dart, I'm gonna figure this out." And then he found like all of his storylines in this are great. And his, like you said, his relationship with Anakin was really good too. But he was always just a great character.
Yeah. The scene at the end always makes me sad. Where he's like, "You're my brother, Anakin.
Yeah.
I loved you," and it's like, oh.
I love the scene afterward where they're flying away, and he's just sort of like holding his face when they're like flying, and he's just sort of like, "Oh my god!" Like he's just like processing everything that just happened and like what his life's gonna be like now.
Yeah.
He's going through a lot, but that's pretty much all I have to say about Obi-Wan. I would like to do an Obi-Wan episode maybe, and just like really dig deep onto like each
we should do
show
that when the Obi-Wan show comes out.
Yeah.
Or when it debuts or whatever.
It'd be that might be next year. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'd love to do that. I had another point I had was it adds the originals and gives them more context, but we pretty much already covered that. Do you have any more points?
Let me look at my notes. I had one.
If you do, I'll let you go.
I had one. What was it? I gotta write down my thoughts more often. I'll be thinking at work and I'll just be like, "Oh, I should write that down," and then I like never
do it, dude. Well, the aesthetics, we kind of talked about that when we did our episodes, but like the actual designs of the worlds, like the cultures and everything for planets that appear, like Utapau. That really doesn't appear for too long in Revenge of the Sith, but it's like their world is revolved around sinkholes, and they live in like the rims around there, and like there's different levels as you're going down.
I think I've said it before, but my favorite planet from the prequels is Naboo. Yeah. Like just like I love how much time they spend on Naboo with like I like the inside of the planet being water and Gungans live in there. Yeah. And it's like, oh, like they have two completely different societies, but they live.
Yeah, that plays into the movie too. It's not just looking cool.
Yeah. And the Naboo ships.
Yeah, like the royal architecture and all that. Yeah, it looks smooth. And again, it doesn't look like anything from the originals. No, but in a good way.
That's the point. The originals, like you're focusing on the rebellion, where they're using like secondhand ships and like anything they can get. Whereas like now we're seeing like royalty. Like we're seeing Coruscant. Coruscant is a great looking city.
That's
every time it's on screen, even if it's obviously all like animated in the back, but like. Even that stuff, I think, adds so much.
Just like the little traffic going by. Little air traffic, all the different shaped buildings. The seedy nighttime level. The Senate building.
One of my favorite sets is the Jedi Council building. Yeah. With, like, there's the seats and, like, overlooking. The chairs,
Each of those seats is different. I think, for the, different shaped Jedi, I guess.
But. Yeah, like the big snake Jedi.
Yeah, and like Yoda's got like a little seat.
Got a little ball.
Yeah, but like there is so much variety in the aliens, the world. Like Tatooine, they go to Tatooine again, and they go to like a different side of it. Yeah, where there's like racing.
Yeah, that too. We haven't talked about pod racing, but I really like it.
Yeah, we have talked about pod racing before.
Not in this episode. Not in this episode.
Yeah, not in this one.
I think it's kind of weird for how long it is, because that's like another point I like. I think I already said I like this movie because they have so many storylines going on at once. But when pod racing happens, it's just pod racing for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's like, okay, I mean, I don't mind it.
But it's an important story point too.
Yeah. But We're watching it right now.
Yeah, I skipped ahead.
I feel like I've talked too much about episode 1. I mean, Episode 2, I really like the clones.
That's another thing. They could have just easily made them look like stormtroopers, but they didn't. You can tell that they're going to become stormtroopers.
Yes.
But they look visually distinct.
Mm-hmm. Any other scenes in particular that you like?
Like specific scenes? I mean, I think I just jumped to one in Revenge of the Sith. Just like anything with Anakin and Palpatine is great. Or the scene where immediately after this, where it's like that haunting like voice is like singing, and Anakin's like looking out across the city to like Padme, and like she's looking out, and it's like he can sense her, and he's like conflicted about like should he stay here, where is his loyalty lie to the Jedi, and it's like, or is it with Padme and the Chancellor, or I don't know. There's like so many moments. I think all of the endings of these movies are great too.
Yes.
Like Qui-Gon's funeral and the parade, and then the gun the Clone Wars. That
none of the endings feel good. Like even
what are you talking about?
I mean they're great endings, but like they're very like dreary. Like even in episode 1, like Qui-Gon's dead, and then you cut to
I might disagree a little bit, except for Revenge of the okay. You see, I half agree. I agree in the sense of like knowing what happens. Yeah, it's dreary. But I don't know. I'd say the Phantom Menace is, with the exception of Qui-Gon's death, is rather, I don't want to say uplifting, but is a bit joyous. Like, they have the big energy ball. Peace. And Anakin and Padme get married while the Clone Wars is like beginning, and but that's the thing is like
I mean more the endings, not the whole movie.
Oh no, but I mean like I meant that like the ending of Attack of the Clones, like they show like all the ships landing off, and then they cut to their wedding.
I think that specifically is upsetting because they're having a wedding when they shouldn't be. And what's going to happen,
Well, there is still a sense of hope, though, in each of them. Specifically, Revenge of the Sith. Like, that one is downer because you see Vader. Here, I'll skip to it. You see Vader and Palpatine looking over the Death Star, and it's like, well, the galaxy's about to be, screwed for the next 19 years. And then, I don't know, it cuts to, like, Luke and Leia, and they're being shipped off, and it's like, okay, well, there still is hope,
Yeah.
There is a chance for, and like, what happens with Anakin and Padme, but you could still feel like, maybe things will work out type deal. If you haven't seen the later movies, that is.
Yeah. That's another thing I like, is in episode 3 when everything like at the very end kind of switches to look like Empire stuff.
Yeah, it's like being stripped away.
Yeah, but then you can tell like throughout like episode 2 and 3, like you can see like that's going to turn into a TIE fighter.
Yeah.
That's going to be a stormtrooper. Like, that's going to be an AT-AT.
But it's not overt, because there's still variety. Like, the ARC 170 starfighters, they got, like, the little X-Wing X's, and they say, lock S foils attack position. But, like, they don't look like X-Wings. They don't even make the same sounds, I don't think. But, like, I don't want to keep crapping on the sequels, but, like, if that was in the sequel, it would literally just look like an X-Wing.
Yeah.
They don't really have too much variety there. But, like, look at this, Alderaan. You see Alderaan for like the most briefest of moments.
Yeah, and you realize, oh, it's a beautiful, bustling planet.
And then it gets...
That's right, it gets blown up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, fuck. Like, even a scene as small as this adds, like, how terrible the Empire is.
Yeah. I
feel like maybe in the movies they don't show how terrible the Empire really is enough. Like, they show how bad Vader and, like, Palpatine are, but, like... For instance, when we talk about the occupied planets, they never really show an occupied planet.
Maybe in Rogue One they show it a bit more.
In Rogue One, yeah. I'm thinking more the original trilogy.
So I think...
Wait! This scene.
Yeah.
At the end of episode 3.
Yeah.
It's like the end of episode 9.
Oh, God. All right, yeah, there's Rey. Right.
Obi-Wan's actually holding Rey.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say is... It's not so much a positive... I guess it is a positive on the prequels, is that the stuff it spawned. Like the 2 Clone Wars shows, all the video games. Oh, my God, Max.
What?
What did we forget to talk about?
The music?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. I was about to say the soundtracks for the movie.
We were talking about this. I don't know if the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy has my favorite soundtrack.
Yeah, prequels for me, definitely. I think Revenge of the Sith is the best one.
I love music. Like, I always am listening to music. And Star Wars music, like, I'll listen to, like, orchestras. Like, obviously it is an orchestra, but, like, I'll listen to, like, an orchestra play the music, and I'm, like, immediately taken back to, like, when I was a kid. Like, I think I was talking to you about it. Like, I was texting you one day, and I was like, the opening scene to episode 3 with the ships. The
Yes.
Doom,
Yeah.
doom, doom. It's like, that scene wouldn't be half as cool without that music.
Oh, no.
I remember seeing it in theaters and being like,
It really makes it amplifies each of the scenes, and John Williams is always good at this, but especially in the prequels, he's good at, like, interwoving, like, the different themes,
yes.
you know? And using the old themes without being obnoxious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it specifically helps in episode 1, because I think episode 1 is, I don't want to say boring, but everyone seems a little more bored in it than normal. Like, the action doesn't seem very high stakes until you get to, like, pod racing and, like, the battles and stuff. Because most of it's political, you know?
I guess.
But then, like, you have the music coming into it. Like, for instance, Duel of the Fates.
Yeah.
Like, that fight is great. But just think about it for a second if there was no music in it.
That's true, yeah.
And it is just so highly elevated.
You told me about this before. Each movie has its own distinct, or, like, one song that stands out. You got Duel of the Fates, Across the Stars, and then Battle of the Heroes. Respectively for each of the films.
Yeah. And if what about the original trilogy? Would you say the
maybe like the main theme or the Force theme
when he's looking at the suns on Tatooine?
Yeah, Imperial March for episode 5, and then for episode 6 maybe the Emperor's theme or Jabba the Hutt's theme. I don't know. Maybe
I forgot. Yeah. But the prequel is they're just so good, like, sounding and looking.
Oh yeah. That's what I say. Like, I get why it turns people off, because it does seem kind of goofy. But honestly, I think that these are really great films that people are now starting to give more of a chance, because there are people that, you know, like us, that grew up with it, that are coming around and they're having a more vocal presence with everything. And it's not just the memes. I at least love these films genuinely because of the story and the characters and pretty much everything that I said before. I really think these are great films.
Mm-hmm. Oh, General Grievous had eye goop. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's gross.
Oh yeah. Is that all you wanted to?
That was it.
Okay. So just the little note at the end here. We are now on Spotify, iTunes, and oh god, there was another one. Well, YouTube, obviously. I'm going to put this on YouTube first, but yeah, we are now on there. Right now, I think only this is the first episode is up, just because you got to pay for something first, like $5 a month, but I haven't set anything up yet.
What are the names? They're just SW Middle Ground?
Yeah, I think it's just Middle Ground, a Star Wars podcast. So just type that in. It has like a logo of like the Sith and Jedi. It's red. It'll say hosted by Kevin and Max.
The same logo we have on our YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube and Twitch and everything. I'll link it below.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're all on there, and we were also on Instagram. We got like 160 some followers. I'm trying to post every day on there.
No biggie.
Yeah, no biggie. No, but God, I was trying to. I don't mean to drag this out, but actually, I forgot what I was gonna say. Something about. Oh, I made an announcement post. Is what I was gonna say. I made an announcement that we were gonna do. That there was gonna be an announcement soon. We still haven't figured that out. But it should be up soon. At least the announcement video of what we're gonna do.
Yes, because takes time.
Yeah,
and
it takes time.
We are busy boys.
Yeah, something happened, and we didn't have as much time as we thought we would, and then something happened with the video I was gonna make announcement wise. So that's But
slight
anyway,
postpone, but it's still coming.
Yeah. Oh well, that'll do it for us on the Middle Ground now.
All right, thank you, love you.